Hello everyone, and welcome back to Mind, Body, Speech, a video podcast by Speech for Success. We are a therapy clinic in Washington State of experienced occupational therapy and speech therapists dedicated to providing reliable and helpful health information. I'm Ms. Rose, one of the occupational therapy assistants and neurodivergent staff members. Today, we are wrapping up our Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month by discussing autistic meltdowns. Meltdowns are often confused with temper tantrums, as they can be quite similar. However, they are actually very different functionally, and tantrum strategies don't work for children who are having meltdowns. If your child is having tantrums and does not respond well to conventional strategies that usually help, they may actually be having meltdowns. So, what causes meltdowns? While there are many things that can cause meltdowns and contribute to them, they really fall into three main categories: sensory overload, unexpected changes, and emotional dysregulation, or a combination of the above. All it takes is reaching a certain threshold. Everyone has a threshold. Everyone has a certain point where their tolerance for sensory input, changes, emotional dysregulation, and other challenges from their environment that they find uncomfortable or unpleasant reach a point of no return. Everyone has the capacity for a meltdown or shutdown. For most people, self-care, rest, or a good night of sleep can recharge their threshold and give them back tolerance for the various inputs, challenges, and changes of their day. But for everyone, once that threshold is met, you're done. In a 2013 study, it was found that autistic individuals have noisy nervous systems, and at rest are 42% more mentally active compared to their non-autistic counterpoints in the study's control group. What this functionally means is that the autistic individual may have what seems to be a lower threshold for uncomfortable, unpleasant, or annoying inputs compared to the rest of the population. But in reality, autistic brains are often already processing more information as part of their natural baseline. A good example of this is to imagine you have two cups. The non-autistic person's cup is empty and ready for their day's sensory input, life changes, emotional changes, weather changes, demands, and so much more. They have the potential for 100% capacity for their day. An autistic person wakes up with 42% of their cup full from the previous day, every day. They do not recover the same way as a non-autistic individual does with sleep and self-care. So while it is easier to say that an autistic individual has less capacity or tolerance, what we are really saying is that due to the extra processing the autistic brains do, most autistic people are likely to start their day somewhere around where non-autistic people are at lunchtime. So what contributes to threshold? In a previous episode, we talked about sensory regulation and how some people need more or less input to their various sensory needs. When we are talking about sensory overload, we are discussing the accumulative effects of those senses together. Sensory overload is like starting your car and finding out that the radio is on max, or putting in your headphones and turning on your music only to discover the volume's turned all the way up. For most of us, we can turn off the car, turn down the volume, take out our headphones. But either way, that initial burst of sensory interaction can get us very close to a threshold. While that can trigger a meltdown, more realistically, it's due to a persistent, constant sensory input. And really what that looks like is, imagine for a minute that you're exhausted. You have a blister on your right foot and your left shoe is too. You've got bug bites on your thigh and one of your shoulders is burnt from playing in the sun. Also, you have a wet glove on. The sun is too bright right now and there are 3 different people trying to get your attention while you try to do a complex math problem. Now you've started the car or put your headphones in and the radio is turned all the way up. You've reached your limit. You're likely to respond emotionally as soon as that music starts. And for those with autism or sensory input, or sensory processing disorder, our capacity for regulating sensory input is different at resting, thus increasing our risk of overload. And while this may seem like an extreme or an exaggerated example, it's a really good example of how many sensory inputs can stack up. And you can't always tell how someone else's sensory system is responding to the world around them. And so while loud radio may be uncomfortable but manageable, for some, that's the final straw. Unexpected changes and surprises. Autistic individuals' brains often rely on routines, structures, and expectations to assist with self-regulation and stability. In fact, that's often what we teach our kiddos, is to develop routines and strategies to manage expectations. And when things are disrupted, we struggle to function. And yes, while most people can struggle with unexpected changes and are told to just go with the flow, for those with autism and other neurodivergencies, these can get us one step closer to meltdown. Imagine for a minute that you get to work and you know that you've got chocolate ice cream at home. Work gets frustrating and exhausting, but you have chocolate ice cream at home. You run into traffic. That's okay. You can take a breath. You have chocolate ice cream. You stub your toe. Ouch. It's fine. Chocolate ice cream. The car battery or your phone battery dies. It's fine. Chocolate ice cream. You finally get home. There's no chocolate ice cream in the freezer because somebody else ate it. You have vanilla ice cream, which isn't bad, but that's not what you want. You spent all day wanting chocolate ice cream. And while ice cream seems like a small disappointment, there are dozens of other changes in the above scenario. Traffic has changed your arrival time, which now changes your ability to do the sensory regulation that you need before your lunch plans. Stubbing your toe, your foot hurts. You can't ignore that pain. Your phone battery dies. You don't have access to the music that you need to get through that busy and noisy grocery store. You're already near threshold. The ice cream throws you over that edge. The above scenario with the ice cream is a great example of how emotional dysregulation can also bring us one step closer to our threshold and meltdown. Emotional dysregulation can be a visual indication of other underlying problems, such as having reached someone's threshold for unpleasant and challenging input, or it can be a standalone issue. It may be due to positive or negative emotions or anxiety. A person's emotional state can be from an external indicator of the amount of energy someone is experiencing internally. Emotional dysregulation is a very complex topic that we hope to continue to cover in future podcasts. While many of the above examples that have been described are designed to help our adult listeners understand how meltdowns can occur, it's really important to recognize how, for kids, every challenge is the hardest challenge they've ever faced. The world is a big, exciting, and scary place. Their bodies are changing and the awareness of their body is changing, and this keeps them even more percentage points closer to meltdown than an adult would be. And while understanding what can cause a meltdown is helpful, what do we do to avoid them? Being aware of the stages of meltdown can allow us to better prepare and better react after they happen. There are 3 main stages: rumbling, explosion, and after. In rumblings, we're pre-meltdown. This is the stage where the pressure is building. A person could be headed towards a meltdown or could be redirected at this point. It's important to recognize that they may or may not know the stage that they're at or how close to their threshold they are. Some behaviors of rumbling or pre-stage meltdown could include general dysregulation, extra pickiness that doesn't quite make sense and can't actually be corrected, like how they want their sandwich cut or exactly which cup they want their glass of water in. It could come from repetitive questioning, hyperfixation on details that they might otherwise ignore, visual stimming, and or seeking connection with a safe person. This is the point where meltdowns can be redirected through movement activities, stimming in a way that physically releases the mental pressure that is building, re-regulating their body. They may need a co-regulator or a safe person that they can interact with. Movement activities can include crashing, jumping, running, screaming into pillows, weighted blankets for deep pressure, tight hugs, and squeezes. If there's a specific meltdown trigger like a loud noise or a bright light, it's a good idea to remove those triggers as quickly as possible. The next stage is meltdown. This is the moment where everything blows. There's no stopping meltdown at this point. It's an erupting volcano. This is a point where an individual can be destructive to themselves, to others, and to their environment. The best thing to do here is to protect. Remove the meltdown trigger as soon as possible, or leave the environment if possible. Listen to the autistic person and respect their wishes even if they don't make the most sense. If they say go away, give them some space, take a few steps back, as long as it's safe to. If they say stop talking, stop talking. Create a safe space by removing objects that you don't want broken or that could be harmful to the melting down person, or, if absolutely necessary, remove them. Reduce sensory input as much as possible, dim the lights, reduce the noise, reduce visual distractions, and provide them with comfort items. This could be a stuffed animal, a heavy blanket, a particular music or movie that they enjoy, snacks, water. After, once the meltdown has continued to run its course and has finished, make sure that they get those comfort items. They may want a snack now. They may need water, stuffies, warm sweaters, hugs. Have a calm and safe space and nearby safe person to regulate with. Understand that they are likely going to be exhausted and that meltdown could continue into shutdown, which is an opportunity for the nervous system to fully reset itself. Don't discipline the person and don't try to process yet. They may not have the language or the capacity to discuss what happens. And many autistic people are highly embarrassed by meltdowns and may not want to talk about it. At a future point, it might be worth discussing how they would like to be dealt with or managed when they're in meltdown, but right now is not the time to do that. While this wraps up Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month, we hope to continue to bring you clips, tricks, and tips that you can integrate into your family's lives and make a huge difference. Please continue to follow us for more exciting topics in the future. We love hearing from you. If you have any questions or specific topic you'd like us to cover, please comment below and let us know. To close, we hope to promote more understanding and compassion for those who experience our amazing world just a little bit differently. Thank you all for checking in with us throughout this month of April for Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. We hope you found the information valuable. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and keep an eye out for our next videos.